Another important concept in investing is systematic versus unsystematic risk. So let's look at that. Systematic versus unsystematic risk. The way I like to explain this is the economy is essentially a large ocean, and it has tides that rise up and down. So if we think of the economy as being a large bay of water, that the tide comes in and tide goes down, tide goes out. So when the tide's coming in, think of it as more economic activity, that more people are spending money, more workers are being hired, they spend more money, and the tide is rising, and everything moves up. When the tide is receding, when the tide is going out, then people are spending less money, companies are laying off workers, and so on. So, of course, the tide can go out. So we think of systematic risk as the tide moving up and down. Well, on this body of water are the little boats that are the companies, and they move up and down with the economic times. Obviously, if we're in a deep recession and in a bad economic time, there are going to be less profits for the company, and that has nothing to do with how well the company does. The company can be chugging along really well, except people are spending less money. So obviously, company profits are down. On the other hand, the economy and the overall situation could be lifting, and people could be spending more money. And of course, there's economic profits for the companies that are on that body of water, on that economic lift. So if you think about it as a tide coming in and going out, the economy rises and lowers all boats. So that's systemic risk or systematic risk. The risk of the economy moving up and the economy moving down is going to impact all of the companies that are in that economy. Unsystematic risk is the chances of a boat capsizing. So unsystematic risk is the chances that one company, as we've seen this, you're all familiar with many companies that have completely exploded, or in this case capsized. Enrons and the Arthur Andersons of the world were running along fine, and they were going up and down with the ocean, and they were building their company and getting a bigger and bigger ship, if you will continue the analogy with me. But all of a sudden they sprung a leak, and it was devastating, and they capsized. They sunk like the Titanic, actually. So when you think of systematic risk and unsystematic risk, the economy going up and down is going to impact all of the boats in the economy, all of the companies in the economy. But unsystematic risk is the risk that one particular company will hit an iceberg. So if there's a company that's moving along and it's doing fine, and then all of a sudden there's a recall on one of their products, or there's fraud inside the company, or other things, maybe even a competitor comes along with a replacement product and puts them out of business because their products are no longer useful, or even a technological change. There's lots of reasons why companies have individual risk that doesn't impact the overall economy. On the other hand, every company is going to feel it if the economy gets really good and starts to boom, and then most companies are going to feel it on the downside as well. So when you think of systematic versus unsystematic risk, systematic is the ocean tide going up and down, and unsystematic risk is the individual boats on that ocean having a problem, and potentially capsizing and sinking. So when you think of the two, you need to separate the two and understand that all of your firms will benefit from a rise in the economy, and all of the firms will be hurt by a decline in the economy. That's one situation. And another situation is some firms will do poorly over time because of competitive pressures or because of their own mistakes, and other firms will do better. So systematic versus unsystematic risk is a key concept in investing.